U.S. sanctions against Brazilian Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes, who used his position to authorize arbitrary pre-trial detentions and undermine freedom of expression. Moraes is an activist judge that abused his authority by engaging in a targeted and politically motivated effort designed to silence political critics through the issuance of secret orders compelling online platforms, including U.S. social media companies. Also, the sanctions will impose denial of visas for PLO members and PA officials. And again, to stress, a waiver may be considered on a case-by-case basis consistent with our national security interests. On July 31st, Secretary Rubio announced U.S. sanctions against Brazilian Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes, who used his position to authorize arbitrary pre-trial detentions and undermine freedom of expression. Moraes abused his authority by engaging in a targeted and politically motivated effort to silence political critics through the issuance of secret orders, compelling online platforms, including U.S. social media companies, to ban individuals for posting protected speech. As Secretary Rubio stated on X, our actions are a warning to those who are trampling on the fundamental rights of their citizens, and judicial robes cannot protect you. Turning to the Indo-Pacific, the White House announced that the United States has reached a full and complete trade deal with the Republic of Korea. This agreement, as the Secretary is meeting today with ROK Foreign Minister Cho Hyun, reflects the unwavering strength of the U.S.-ROK alliance, which has served as the linchpin of peace, security, and prosperity on the Korean Peninsula and in the Indo-Pacific for more than 70 years. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, the State Department reported to Congress that the Palestine Liberation Organization, the PLO, and Palestinian Authority, PA, are not in compliance with their commitments under the PLO Commitments Compliance Act of 1989 and the Middle East Peace Commitments Act of 2002. In response, the United States is imposing sanctions that deny visas to PLO members and PA officials in accordance with Section 604A1 of the Middle East Peace Commitments Act. These actions reflect our national security interests and our commitment to holding the PLO and PA accountable for undermining the prospects for peace. On the humanitarian front, the United States is providing $52 million to the World Food Program to deliver emergency food assistance from American farmers and producers to people in need in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, Haiti, and Djibouti. Under this new award, WFP will distribute 12,702 metric tons of food, yellow split peas, rice, vegetable oil, and Super Cereal Plus from our pre-positioning warehouses in Houston and Djibouti to support the 1.9 million vulnerable people. The United States is the largest donor of humanitarian food assistance globally, and the department continues to call on other donors to provide additional contributions to address global humanitarian needs. And before I turn it over to questions, I want to introduce our front row as spokesperson Bruce started last Tuesday, continuing the pattern here today. We have the Key Post, Tehran, June Afrique, the Africa Report, News Nation, Bloomberg, SBT Brazil, and NHK. So with that, I'll turn it over to some questions.
Thank you, Tommy. On the sanctions on the Brazilian Supreme Court judge you just mentioned, what is the State Department position to the main reason that led to the sanction announced by the Department of Treasury? What did the U.S. find as the main threat?
Well, look, Moraes is an activist judge that abused his authority by engaging in a targeted and politically motivated effort designed to silence political critics through the issuance of secret orders compelling online platforms, including U.S. social media companies, banning the accounts of individuals for posting protected speech. Moraes further abused his position to authorize unjust pretrial detentions and undermine freedom of expression. The actions taken by Moraes impact U.S. persons and companies, and the United States does not tolerate malign foreign actors who abuse their positions of authority to undermine freedom of expression of American citizens.
So do other Brazilian individuals might face the same sanction, or if there is any indication of new travel bans or visa restrictions for Brazilian citizens in general, now or in the near future, even next year when there is a World Cup?
Well, I'm not going to preview what we may have in terms of further sanctions announcements or other actions there. What I can say is just point to this action and again stress how seriously we take this.
And the last question, if possible, how is the diplomatic engagement among those two countries? Secretary Rubio had a meeting here on this matter. If the State Department has a position on this meeting.
Well, I have no readout to provide on a meeting for you. Yes, Leon.
I'd like to come back to what you announced. I mean, there was a statement this morning, but you repeated it to the sanctions against members of the Palestinian Authority and the PLO. Could you specify to us who exactly are sanctioned, the officials that are sanctioned, and at what level? And could you explain to us a little bit the context of this coming really 2 days or a couple of days after the UN conference at the UN on the Palestinian statehood, and the push of many allies, US allies, of France, UK, Canada, for Palestinian state?
Well, look, to stress, this is a biannual review that happens twice a year in every single year. And this report refers to the review period that ended in January 2025. So in terms of the timing of this report, this is a biannual report provided to Congress, and that's being provided here. It is the first report being provided under this administration. So in terms of timing, that's the timing, and that's why we're seeing this report now. In terms of specific individuals, outlined in the media note in terms of the policy, one of the many policy options that were available that is being implemented. I don't want to get into specific cases because ultimately, per the report, there is an opportunity for a case-by-case basis consideration for a waiver. And so we saw the media note outlining certain policy implications, the actions that were taken, but ultimately this is a case-by-case, or there is that option for in terms of a visa. Yes.
Thank you, Tommy. Appreciate it.
I'll take two more questions on this specific topic, on the PLO announcement, and then we can go on to a broader region for sure, but two more on this specific topic.
But just to follow up with that, you, for example, for Brazil, for the Supreme Court judge, you didn't have any problems naming him and saying who it was. But in this case, you're not naming anybody. And could you give us a sense as to what level they are? How many people are we talking about?
Well, so the sanctions will impose denial of visas for PLO members and PA officials. And again, to stress, a waiver may be considered on a case-by-case basis consistent with our national security interests. Yes.
Thank you, Tommy. Appreciate it. You said you were going to take a few more questions on
I'll
this.
take two more on this specific topic.
Yeah.
Broader
So-
region for sure, but on this specific one.
So on that one, specifically, the previous administration engaged with Palestinian Authority to find a solution for the future governance of Gaza. And that administration and Trump administration also said Hamas has no place in Gaza's future, a position that is widely shared by many other countries in the world. How does this action specifically impact Trump administration's ability to engage with PA? Maybe it doesn't impact it at all. Can you help us understand that? And were there any heads up given to Arab states about this action? Thank you.
Well, I'm not going to speculate on what it will look like going forward, but what I can say is that the Biden administration in this biannual review also found them in noncompliance. They chose not to take certain actions. This is the first report of this biannual review that is under this current administration. And we decided to take one of a few actions that were available in terms of once we identified the noncompliance. That is what this indicates. There's nothing further to read beyond this report except for the report finding noncompliance, as well as saying we are taking that action in terms of certain restrictions. But I'm not going to speculate further beyond that.
And the Arab states?
I'm not going to preview private diplomatic discussions.